UFC 330, Islam Makhachev and Ian Machado Gary. Islam Makhachev's first defense at the welterweight division. Ian Machado Gary's finally gotten his title shot that he's been wanting for quite a long time. Not too many great fights on this card, but a lot of those that's come a lot recently, and I believe these type of lackluster name cards give us great fights, so we may be in for a good one, fellas. Let's just jump into the picks. First up, we got Jeremiah Wells and Mikdibek Oralbai. Jeremiah Wells returned to the UFC after a near 2 year layoff after losing to Max Griffin, and he then beat Themba Gorimbo as a decently hefty underdog. He's come back 9 months later, and he's now a even bigger underdog against the fabled Mikdibek Oralbai. Since Oralbai lost that absolute barn burner in a definite fight of the year candidate against Matoi's Raumbetsky, he's pulled up three wins in a row at the welterweight division. He's beaten Tafik Musayev. Actually, no, that was Tafik Musayev was at lightweight. He fought Jack Hermanson, who dropped down from middleweight, knocked him out cold, and then most recently he beat Chris Curtis, also moving down to the welterweight division, beat him by decision. This is kind of an unfair matchup for Jeremiah Wells, 39 years old. He's literally pushing 40 at the gates. He's outsized by a tiny bit. He is a decent wrestler and has some decent striking, but Mikdibek, the younger guy in his prime, now moving up, not cutting as much weight. Mikdibek's a very elite grappler and wrestler. He's probably going to make this look easy. I think he's going to get a round 2 submission. I don't want to sound like a guy that's fence sitting by any means, but I could also see Jeremiah Wells out dogging Mikdibek Oralbai if he hits him hard early and just hurts him. We've seen that Oralbai, when he gets hurt, he's only been hurt, in my opinion, twice in his career. Once against Uros Medic, he got hurt bad, and he still finished Uros by Kimura. And then against Motoi's Raumbetsky, which he really struggled. Then again, two different weight classes. Now he's at welterweight completely, so he'll definitely have a lot better recoverability against Jeremiah Wells. Just not really a fair fight. Oralbai probably easy. I think it's around 64.5% by submission, predicting for Oralbai. So Oralbai probably a round 2 Kimura. I think he might just wait a little bit into the first round, get into that second round, get a takedown, and Jeremiah Wells, when he's trying to get up, he'll just probably pull that Kimura. That's one of his better submissions. Next up, Neil Magny and Ramiz Brahimaj. Now, coming into this fight, I wasn't entirely sure how the odds would be. I thought Magny might be a bit more of a dog, but I think people are putting more respect on Magny now. I mean, he's beaten since dropping from the rankings for the first time in like 7 to 8 years in 2024, losing to Prates. He's beaten quite a few guys. I mean, he lost to Morales and then he lost to Prates, two top 3 welterweights right now, and he built a win streak against LZ Daleski dos Santos, and then he subbed Jake Matthews after that weird controversy with the sub in the first round. He wasn't out. It was a whole thing, but Neil Magny still shown he's a bit of a dog in there. Last out, he got subbed by Yaroslav Amazov, which again, very good prospect in the welterweight division coming from Bellator. Magny is 39, but he is a very large welterweight. Now we're talking about Ramiz Brahimaj. I never really thought much about Ramiz Brahimaj. I always saw, okay, you know what? I remember him losing to Themba Gorimbo. Not a great loss to have, especially considering how he's looked as of late. But he did go on to put a big 3-fight win streak in his return. He beat Mickey Gall. He finished Billy Ray Goff. And then he also finished Austin Vanderford, which I highly rated myself. I thought Austin Vanderford would look really good, but he dominated him and made it look easy. He then lost to Punahele Soriano. Again, not a bad loss. It was a bit of a closer fight, but Punahele Soriano took him down, wrestle fucked him. And if Punahele is doing that, Magny's going to do even worse. He's a elite submission grappler. The guy has long limbs. He loves his darces. He gets your back. He can get all types of positions against you. Ramiz Brahimaj has decent stand up, but he's also heavily outsized here. I don't think he'll be able to deal with that. 6'3". He has an 8-inch reach disadvantage to Neil Magny. Magny, at 39 years of age, his real Achilles heel is just his chin, and very elite grapplers like guys like Gilbert Burns. A few years back when I think even now Gilbert Burns could probably do it pretty easily, but like Gilbert Burns, Yaroslav Amosov, elite grapplers and decent strikers, which we've seen. That's what Magny struggles against now. This isn't Ramiz Brahimaj. I like him. He's a fun guy. He's got a nice personality, but unfortunately, he's going to get subbed by Neil Magny probably in like the second round. I could see it being like a Darce. Ramiz Brahimaj likes to shoot sometimes. They're kind of sloppy. Magny just going to use those long libs and get that head choke. Next up, Rafael Tobias and Lucas Fernando. Now, a lot of people are on Lucas Fernando, especially with the odds showing he's a minus 300 favorite against Rafael Tobias. Now, a lot of people really not big on Rafael Tobias after his last time out against Nurgajai. Nurgajai did get a first round slime out over Bruno Lopez literally last week. It was my pick of the week, and I'm gonna go Rafael Tobias here. He didn't look too bad on the striking against Nurgajai. He was fighting a way better striker. He's 23 years old. He's not massively outsized, except for the reach. The reach is a 7-inch advantage for Lucas Fernando, but his striking is kind of sus on LFA. He's not a bad prospect. He's 29 years old. But I think Rafael Tobias can wrestle fuck him here. He has very sus takedown defense. Rafael Tobias has good takedowns, and he has good pressure. I think Rafael Tobias can pressure him to get him to the ground and maybe find a rear naked choke finish. He's also not a bad striker. He has a few finish wins in his last few fights, and then his Contender Series fight was a rear naked choke. So I do think he can get him to the ground in rounds 2 or 3 and get that patented rear naked choke against what everybody's saying. I think a lot of people have round 1 KOs for Lucas Fernando, and I think we are heavily overrating a guy that we haven't seen much. He hasn't been on Contender Series, hasn't been on Tough, hasn't really fought that many guys on LFA either. The other important factor here is Lucas Fernando lost to Azamat Bokoyev and Cesar Almeida back-to-back. Not bad losses by any means, but it's the way he lost to them. Got wrestle fucked by Azamat and got wrestle fucked by Cesar Almeida, a very good kickboxer, not a great wrestler. And whenever a guy is getting taken down by Cesar Almeida and held for 3 rounds, you're not going to go look at that guy and be like, wow, that's insane, right? So if Cesar Almeida can do that, Rafael Tobias can definitely do that. And I'm going to go Rafael Tobias round 2 submission, probably a rear naked choke. Next one, a bit of a sad one. Vicente Luque in his second fight at middleweight against the vicious Tresean Gore. I think Tresean Gore is a minus 145 favorite now. The odds have changed a tiny bit. This is Vicente Luque's second fight, as I said, at middleweight. He did come out last time knocking down Kelvin Gastelum and getting his patented Darce choke, or his Anaconda choke. I just think Vicente Luque here is outmatched in size, and I can't get Joaquin Buckley making him quit and just getting a very light TKO. I love Luque, but I don't even think he's a quitter. I think he literally cannot take the damage after the brain bleed against Jeff Neal. He's just struggled quite a bit. He literally got subbed by Kevin Holland in his last 3 fights. He lost to Joel Alvarez too. And the Joel Alvarez fight too, it being his second to last fight, shows that he won't eat a punch. Tresean Gore is a big middleweight in comparison to Vicente. They may be similar size, and he may be outsized in the reach, but Tresean Gore is a big, muscly middleweight, and I believe he might go out there and take his head off. If not, he'll probably get his patented guillotine choke. I believe he has a 100% finish rate, and his last 3 wins are all by that guillotine choke. I think one was a standing guillotine. Last out, he subbed Asmat Bukoyev in a crazy, crazy fight. He's just got more dog, and he hasn't taken as much damage as Vicente Luque has. And although Vicente Luque had a good performance against Gastelum, Gastelum looks like a world beater one fight, and then he looks like the worst bum the next. I mean, getting knocked down by Vicente Luque um, in our fabled year of 2026 is not a good look. Vicente Luque was always a better grappler than he was a striker, and he didn't have a lot of power either. So I don't think he can rely on knocking down Tresean Gore. His last 2 wins kind of came from not getting a flash knockdown. People don't really remember, but he kind of knocked down Themba Gorimbo. It wasn't really a shot, and then he locked up that Anaconda choke. So I don't think he's getting Tresean Gore with that. I don't think he's going to knock him down. He is clean boxing, but it's just not enough here. Tresean Gore is probably throwing a meaty hook and probably taking him out in the first or second round. I'm going to say probably a first round finish for Tresean Gore. If it's not the KO, he'll probably knock him down, just try to search for that guillotine. And if he gets that neck, he's going to get it. Next up, Dante Johnson and Eric Miconico. Dante Johnson is undefeated in his MMA career. Quite a bit of an undersized guy. Dante Johnson has made a name for himself. Originally last year, he came off the Contender Series, I think the second or third week, finishing a heavyweight, a 6'2 heavyweight, and you might be wondering, hey, it says he's weighed in at 184. Well, his next 2 fights after that were at 185 because that was a short notice fight where he just came in and he fought at heavyweight for literally no reason. He's now transitioned fully to middleweight as he is a 5'8", big, stocky guy. Not subbed Cedricus Dumas in the second round, and then he went to a split decision with Cody Brundage. Now, a lot of people have been saying, oh my god, he went to a split decision with Cody Brundage. Eric Miconico's not that bad. He just beat Rodolfo Vieira. One thing I will say, Rodolfo Vieira literally, I don't remember if it was a knockdown or if he dropped him really bad, but he got hurt by Rodolfo Vieira on the feet. He's been finished by Baysengur Surkayev, knocked out cold, also finished by Nursultan Rusiboev, and he also went to a split decision with Cody Brundage. In my opinion, that was a complete robbery. In Dante Johnson's case, it was a better close fight. In my opinion, when it comes to robberies, I only say if it's a close fight, it's not a robbery. Dante Johnson's fight was a close fight. You could throw it either way, but either way it was scored. It was not a robbery. Eric Miconico outright robbed Cody Brundage. I think there's a better argument for 30-27 Cody Brundage than Eric Miconico 29-28. Pretty ridiculous, but it is what it is. I think you can't really MMA math it that way anyways. They both fought and beat Cody Brundage the same way by split decision. Johnson has better hands. He has better grappling. He might be 4 inches smaller with a 3-inch reach disadvantage, but there's a reason why he's a minus 300 favorite. It's because he's just more dangerous. Miconico's pretty chinny, not super fast. Doesn't really have any great skills. He's 36 years old. Dante Johnson, 27 years old, in his prime, still getting better as it is. I don't think Cody Brundage going to a split decision with him is really bad. A lot of people beat Cody Brundage, but a lot of people also lose to him. He's a hard task for a lot of middleweights, and people seem to forget that. So I don't take it as a bad blunder. I take it as a blunder if you're having to rob him, which Miconico did. So I'm going Dante Johnson by round 1 KO. I have a slip on this in a few things, but it's mainly just KO slips. I think he will get it done in the first round, if not the early second. He just has more power in his hands, and he will move forward. Next up, we have Charles Energy Johnson fighting a short notice replacement in Eduardo Chapolin Santos. Now, Charles Johnson was originally supposed to be fighting Jose Ochoa, in which he was a hefty underdog, and Ochoa was a minus 300 favorite. Pretty good odds considering Ochoa is a pretty nasty prospect. Great hands, great feet, or great grappling. But he had to pull out. Eduardo has come in on, I think, 3 days' notice. Charles Johnson is now I think he's a minus 150 favorite now against Eduardo Chapelin. I think people are going to look at this as another prospect killing for Charles Johnson. I want to mention one thing. Charles Johnson is on the cusp of hitting the Brazilian 10. He wants that number. He wants that loss to get it to 10. They always do. They always do when there's some random bum that doesn't know really how to fight. Aside from the jokes, Charles Johnson has lost quite a few fights recently. He's lost 3 of his last 5. Arguably, he's lost 4. He should not have beaten Bruno Silva. It should have been a robbery. Or it was a robbery, and Bruno Silva shouldn't have gotten that decision. And Bruno Silva then got finished by Edgar Cairez immediately in his next fight. So not great for Charles Johnson. He's been knocked out this year as well by Alex Perez. Last time out, he literally got his opponent's foot in his asshole. Got Suvlov stretched by Asu Almabayev in the step up that he's been asking for years. He's always been a tall flyweight height bully. This is a catch weight at 130 pounds, because Eduardo is coming at short notice. So I think this also does help Eduardo here because Charles Johnson was cutting weight, trying to make 125. Eduardo comes in and he only has to make 130. Made it pretty easily. And he's on a great win streak. He actually did fight on the Contender Series and had a good performance. I think he won all 3 rounds, but he didn't get a contract. He was actually coming from The Ultimate Fighter, where he got subbed by Joseph Bopo Morales, who's fighting Brandon Moreno, the former champion at UFC Noche. Not a bad loss to have, especially considering it's not an official bout. It was an exhibition. So Eduardo Chapelin kept his winning streak. Great, has good knockout power, great striking on the feet. He has a lot of KOs in LFA. It's pretty slick. He's younger, taking way less damage than Charles Johnson. He has decent grappling. I believe Eduardo Chapelin will shock the Charles Johnson bettors, and he will get a crafty decision. I don't think he'll get a finish. I think he might try to keep distance, get some nice head kicks in there, teeps to the body, maybe take him down a few times. This will be a very hard fight for Charles Johnson, and Charles Johnson hopefully retires after this. As much as I really don't like Charles Johnson, I think he needs to do what's right for his family, not take as much damage, and he needs to just retire from the game. He's not getting anywhere to a title shot. He's not even really keeping his top 15 spot very well. I don't think he's ever gotten past number 13 or 12 in his career. Not a great fighter by any means. Talks a lot of stuff. If you hear him speak on Twitter or Instagram Live, you can tell he's out of it. He needs to do what's right for himself and his family and retire after he loses to Eduardo Chapelin Santos. Next up, Chidi Njokuani and Joel Alvarez. Now, Chidi Njokuani is a hefty underdog here. He's lost 2 of his last fights in a row. 2 of his last 5. He was on a winning streak. He did beat ZDS. He beat Jared Gooden. He beat Reese McKee. Hindsight, not great wins to have. Reese McKee, I think he got cut again. Jared Gooden got cut, went to the PFL and lost. And ZDS has also gotten finished by Neil Magny. Not really a crazy win. He got subbed by Jake Matthews, which is pretty crazy. A rear naked choke in the first round. Pretty crazy. He's supposed to be a very good Muay Thai specialist. Keep distance. He's a big welterweight 6'3". And he also got beat on the feet by Carlos Leal. Hurt a lot. Dominated over 3 rounds. And Joel Alvarez is a very fast striker. Good grappling. If he can get subbed by Jake Matthews, he could also get subbed by Joel Alvarez, but I don't really see it. I think Joel Alvarez will just dominate everywhere and work to a crafty decision. I don't really see a finish. Chidi is a hard guy to finish, mainly on the feet, which is what Joel Alvarez specializes in. They are the same height. He has a 3-inch disadvantage in reach, but he is 4 years younger. Coming off the Yaroslav Amosov loss 3 months ago. Again, not a bad loss to have on your resume. Yaroslav Amosov looks dominant. He's a super strong wrestler, which Chidi Njokuani is not. He's a straight Muay Thai guy. So Joel Alvarez has the advantage everywhere here, and I think he's going to get a crafty vet decision in maybe his 10th fight in the UFC, I believe. So the minus 330 favorite will look like a minus 500 favorite in this fight. Next up, Edson Barbosa and Esteban Ribovic. I don't think I need to say too much about this fight. He is a minus 700 favorite, Esteban Ribovic. Edson Barbosa, sadly, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He did go on a winning streak. He did beat Sadiq Youssef, and he also beat Billy Quarantillo, a 2-fight winning streak that was ended by the bum Lerone Murphy. I did pick Edson Barbosa in that fight against Lerone Murphy, but I was sadly proven wrong. Edson was kind of past it against a faster striker in Lerone Murphy. And from then onwards, I was like, yeah, you know what? He's kind of done. I don't really see him beating any of these guys now because he's just not as strong, not as fast as he once was. He's taking too much damage. And the move to lightweight, I wanted it a while back, and then he fought Lerone Murphy, and I think it just didn't work for him. After cutting to featherweight so long, he's just kind of taking too much damage. He immediately got finished by a returning Jalen Turner. Or no, it was he lost the decision to Drakkar Klose. He got hurt early in that fight as well, and then Drakkar just kind of slouched into the decision. Last time out, actually, he got bludgeoned by Jalen Turner. It was pretty bad to watch. It was sad as an Edson Barbosa fan. Pretty sad. He's very far past it. I don't know why this fight got made, other than, I guess, for fans. Esteban obviously hasn't had a finish on the feet. In terms of his fists, he has a head kick KO against, I think, Terrence McKinney. He then beat Daniel Zellhuber in a classic at UFC Noche, the Sphere, and he also beat Elvis Brenner. I arguably thought he beat Nasrat Haqparast and would have been on a 4-fight winning streak going into the Matoiz Gamrot fight. He did get subbed by Matoiz Gamrot, but Barbosa, as we all know, one of the famed Brazilian strikers, the wheel kick. We all know it. It's sad a legend's going to go out. The weight cut isn't looking any better for him, and he takes too much damage each fight. This is perfect for a guy that hits his shots, hits his targets, especially against a guy that doesn't move his head. Barbosa's lost his head movement that he used to literally have. Just not going to look too good. He does outsize him quite a bit, but he's just too slow. Esteban Ribovic is going to make this easy, and Barbosa will sadly retire at the end of this fight. I think Ribovic will get a round 1 KO over Edson Barbosa. Next up, Mansour Abdul Malik and Dustin Stoltzfus. Before I go on further, I've literally just realized the Barbosa fight is the first fight of this main card. Just to show you, it is not a good main card by any means. It will have good finishes and some good fights. But in my opinion, a good card needs to have name value so the divisions move along themselves. When they don't, you just have stagnant divisions, and then people are complaining for months and months on end. Oh, why are these guys not fighting each other? Oh, why is this guy not getting a title shot? Well, he hasn't fought, right? Just a small rant from me. Because I always hear people saying, "Oh my God, why are you guys complaining about the fun fights?" Because the UFC is also a sport. It might be entertainment, but it's also a sport in my eyes and many other people's eyes. Anyways, on to Mansour Abdul Malik. Mansour Abdul Malik got his first professional loss as a fighter against Yusri Belkarui last time out. He really got dominated. I think he was 50-50 on the odds and also the picks against Yusri because he did beat Azamat Bukoyev right before that. Mansour was heavily outsized, outskilled in the striking by the longer, more well-known in the kickboxing, Yusri Belkarui. He was on a winning streak, and he did have the unfortunate no contest against Cody Brundage. Kind of a weird fight how that went. It was a majority draw. Even then, still a great finisher. He's bigger than Stoltzfus. Stoltzfus finished in quite a few of his last few losses, except for against Nursultan Ruzibov and Kelvin Gastelum. Not a great wrestler, not a great striker at this point in his career. He's 34 years old. I think he's been KO'd by Marc-Andre Barriault. Or no, he KO'd Marc-Andre Barriault, and then he also got KO'd by Bruno Ferreira. Spinning elbow was a highlight for him. Just taking too much damage. Mansour has a lot of power in his hands. Probably gets it done early. I could see a round 1 finish, but I think he's waited a bit too long in a few of his fights. I think against Nick Klein, he got knocked down, then got that second round finish. I don't see Dustin knocking him down, but I do see him being a lot more patient, especially after last time out, and looking for a round 2 finish. The only question is, does he get a sub or a KO? I think he might get a sub. I think there's a lot of opportunity here for a club and sub, or even just a standing guillotine type of finish. Maybe even like he gets the Darce grip and brings it to the ground. I think Mansour by sub is the better pick than the KO. Next up, Jalen the Tarantula Turner. If you didn't know, now you know. Jalen Turner is the fighter of the week. Jalen Turner making his return and beating Edson Barbosa badly. He is only 31 years old. He's a massive lightweight at 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Before that, obviously he lost to Ignacio Bahamondes and Renato Moicano. A bit of a mental gap for him there. Renato Moicano knocked him down really badly and walked it off. I think it was a mix of looking for the highlight finish for the big, I think it was a 500,000 bonus at UFC 300, and also because he nearly murdered Bobby Green in December, like 4 months prior, because of Kerry Hatley, and he's found that killer instinct again. I don't think he's really forgiving when he hurts his opponents anymore, especially Edson Barbosa. I mean, obviously he's old, but I thought we'd see maybe a bit more patient after he hurt him, but he went straight for the kill after that. Howie Fernandez is heavily overrated as well. 31 years old, and he's fought literally no good opposition. He was scheduled to fight Freziam, I think at UFC Paris, but he pulled out. Fought short notice Harry Hardwick. Got the leg kick TKO, and everybody was super big on him and hasn't fought in 11 months. So, not a great win. He lost to Mark Jacasey. He's pretty inactive. Beat Muhammad Yahya. I think he got cut. Or actually, no, he got knocked down the most times in UFC history, actually. I think in his last fight in the UFC, he got cut. Guram Kutakaladze got cut as well. Harry Hardwick didn't. I think he got cut, and then he got re-signed, and he doesn't have a fight scheduled. And he also got beaten worse by Marwan Rahiki, who broke his jaw. Just not a lot of stand-up success for Howie Fernandez, and he's a bit of a leg kick merchant. I kind of see a lot of Jonathan Martinez in him, and I think Jalen Turner, super dangerous striker, a lot of power, super athletic. I could see a club and sub. He does have a few rear naked choke finishes in his career. He does like that when he gets your back. I don't really see it though. I think he's just gonna hurt Howie early and get him out of there in the first 2 to 3 minutes. So I'm gonna go Jalen Turner by round 1 KO. That is the fighter of the week. He is not going to disappoint you. I'm telling you right now, it's a Jalen Turner slime out all day, every day. Next up, the co-main event. Pretty short card and also not a great one. I can't believe, we literally have one ranked fight, not including, in terms of men's ranked fights, the ones that most people really care about. Not me, just people in general, but Islam Makhachev, Jalen Turner isn't ranked, Mansour's not ranked, Esteban's not ranked, Joel Alvarez not ranked, Charles fucking Johnson. You have Charles Johnson and Islam Makhachev are the only male ranked fights on this card. You have 3 with Mackenzie Dern. You have 3 ranked fights on a pay-per-view card to end the summer. That's really disappointing. That's super disappointing as a fan. Very disappointed. I don't know what Dana's doing. Didn't even get a lot of Philadelphia native fighters, as this is in Philadelphia. I don't know what he's doing. This is pretty unacceptable. Forgetting about that, Mackenzie Dern is fighting Jillian Robertson, the Canadian, 31 years old. She fights out of Florida, but she's from Niagara. I am Canadian, as you guys know. So I was big on Jillian Robertson, but I know, and a lot of other people know, she's just not winning this fight. She's got a tiny size advantage in the 1 inch height. Mackenzie Dern has just fought way better opposition, and she hasn't beaten a bunch of bums. Jillian Robertson, her 5-fight winning streak, she has 5 fights exactly, are 0-19 after facing her. Amanda Lemos just lost again last week against Alexia Tainara. Marina Rodriguez retired, I think, right after, was on a losing streak and then retired after this fight. Luana Pinheiro got cut from the UFC, and she was also on a 3-fight winning streak. Michelle Waterson Gomez, I love the karate hottie, but she also got cut, or she retired after that fight. Poliana Viana, I think she's also got cut. She literally just got calf sliced like 5-6 months ago by Alice Artie-Lean, and she's also on a losing streak. Jillian Robertson's winning streak has not aged well, unfortunately, as the Canadian guy, and Mackenzie Dern has fought absolute killers in strawweight. She just beat who people thought was the woman to dethrone Zhang Weili, Verna Jandiroba, to win the belt. Very impressive, and people are now saying, oh, Mackenzie Dern's bad, Verna is bad, she sucks, but nobody was talking about that before that fight happened, and Verna didn't even put up a bad fight. Mackenzie Dern just improved and tweaked a few things that led to her losses against Amanda Lemos and Jessica Andrade. Amanda Lemos losing to her 2 years ago is way different than beating her 4 months ago. She's a very different fighter. Jessica Andrade, the same thing. That was nearly 3 years ago. And then she put on a nice 3-fight winning streak. She beat Lupita Godinez, who also beat Jessica Andrade. She beat Amanda Ribas by sub last year in January, and then she won the belt. She's also fought a lot of other fighters. Yan Jianan in a 5-round fight. She has the Gatsang. She just went 5 rounds again against Verna. I think she'll get some big takedowns. She's better on the striking. Jillian doesn't really have any advantage here. She doesn't have a wrestling advantage, doesn't have a grappling advantage. She's also not a huge sub-heavy fighter. I think quite a few of her last fights, she has 2 of her last 5 fights are by finish. And they're not by sub either. She kind of just goes for the TKO. She doesn't have a lot of sub ability, or she just hunts it. If Mackenzie Dern gets an arm, she's throwing you in an armbar. She's throwing you in a Kimura, Americana, anything. She has every submission in the book. It's in her arsenal. I think Mackenzie Dern will wear on her, get her down to the ground a few times, and probably in that 3rd round get a classic armbar when Jillian Robertson throws her hand up, and it will look vicious. Mackenzie Dern by 3rd round armbar. Finally, we have the main event of the evening. Islam Makhachev is attempting to make his first successful defense at welterweight as a 2-division champion against Ian, the future Machado Garry. The Cuck also makes his return after his last fight out against Bilal Muhammad. Put up a decent win streak a few times. Did lose to Shavkat, who's been out for quite a while. A 5-round decision. This is just a no-brainer. Islam Makhachev is pushing 35, but 35 is the last of the prime years statistically for a fighter welterweight and below. I think he's just going to dominate here. There's nothing I've seen from Ian Machado Garry that's really told me, yeah, this guy is going to defend the takedowns really well. He's going to outstrike him greatly on the feet and make him look clueless. Makhachev has fought better strikers. I think Dustin Poirier is a better striker 2 years ago than Ian Machado Garry ever was. I think Alexander Volkanovski, as much as I don't like him that much, is a way better striker. And he KO'd him and beat him in a 5-round decision. I think, it's a bit of, actually, you know what? Hinata Makano, better grappler, takedown artist, better ground and pound than Ian Machado Garry, more dog. All five of these fighters, more dog. Now, JDM is yet to see, but I'd still say going out on your shield against Prates is still better than getting bent over by Prates in a 5-round fight. Either way, Ian Machado Garry has beaten quite a few former champions. I think he's only beaten one former champion in Bilal Muhammad, but he's beaten all of the top rising welterweights. He beat Prates, who's gone on a 3-fight winning streak since. He's beaten Michael Page, who's beaten quite a few guys at middleweight and welterweight, and he's also beaten Jeff Neal. That one hasn't aged super well. Jeff Neal only has one win, and he's been slimed out twice since then, but still not really that bad. Just doesn't really have what it takes. His striking is the type where he keeps range, throws some 1-2s, maybe some head kicks here and there, but he's kind of against the cage a lot. He allows himself to get pressured too much, and even when he moves forward, it's kind of a disadvantage because Islam can just time a double leg. He has great single legs as well, which is why you have to be weary about throwing the kicks. And a lot of guys, when they face Islam Makhachev, a lot of these strikers, they're very, very careful about themselves. They don't let themselves fully go. JDM, Dustin Poirier, Alexander Volkanovski, who is a decent wrestler himself, all much more hesitant when they fight Islam Makhachev because they know of the takedown threat. The takedown threat is probably the Dagestani's biggest weapon. As long as with Islam is probably the best wrestler in the UFC. Just great takedowns overall. His striking has been improving. I don't think Ian Machado Garry's knocking him out. The last guy he finished was Daniel Rodriguez. It's not even in his last 5 fights. Daniel Rodriguez isn't that good of a fighter either. He just got slammed out in a minute, 2 weeks ago by Uros Medic. Not a great win. And Machado Garry doesn't have power. Knocked down by guys like Song Kanan. Hurt multiple times on the feet. He was bent over by Prates 2 fights ago too, and he doesn't have the dog. He basically quit in that 5th round, and Prates was just too gassed to get him out of there. Islam Makhachev has been 5 rounds multiple times. He does not gas. Way better gas tank. Way better wrestling. He will control the pace, and he will dominate. If he doesn't win the decision, I see him getting a 3rd round submission. I think he just takes him down, dominates him through the first 2 rounds, and then when he takes him out that 3rd time, is Ian Garry just being super long-limbed, won't be able to get up. He'll probably find his signature Darce choke, or find his other signature, an arm triangle, and get him out of there to defend his welterweight title for the first time in his career and look on to better things. Those are my picks for UFC 330. Not a lot going on. Pretty boring to say the least in terms of future matchups to make. Don't really know where to go after this week, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Should be a good card for my picks and a lot of others. In terms of, as I already said, the fighter of the week, Jalen Turner. The parlay of the week is Tresean Gore and Mikdibek Orolbai, the prehistoric monkey parlay. Hope you guys enjoy. Y'all have a good one. This is Deshaun Goatland signing out.